Summer barbecue season is here. Burgers, pulled pork, and even sandwiches deserve a bun that can hold everything together. If you want to make your own, these homemade hamburger buns are soft, sturdy, and full of flavor. Let's get started. Hi friend, come on in. These hamburger buns are a modified version of my poolish bread recipe. I am skipping the poolish and the stand mixer, but both can be used. And these buns can be frozen after shaping or after baking for meal prepping solutions. I am using all-purpose flour here to maintain a softer texture in my final bun. I want buns, not rolls, so I will be making slight changes to ensure I am not developing too much gluten. I have 500 grams total of flour, but since I am mixing by hand, I removed about 50 grams of flour to incorporate as I needed to make sure the dough isn't too dry. It is easier to add flour than water to a dough. To my flour, I am adding 15 grams of sugar, about 7 grams of salt, and 1 teaspoon of yeast. I keep mine in the freezer for longer storage. I want to give that a quick mix before adding in 2 tablespoons of very soft butter, 225 grams of milk, warmed if you want this to go faster, and 110 grams of water. I am using a Danish dough whisk to mix this up as much as I can. These whisks are great for mixing stiff doughs and batters. This will require a little elbow grease to get this to come together into a shaggy dough. Once I have this as mixed as the whisk will get it, I will switch over to bowl kneading before dumping it onto the counter and giving it a knead. This should be a soft dough. I'm not kneading to full gluten development, just enough to make a soft, cohesive dough. You could opt to bring it together and do a stretch and fold after 20 to 30 minutes as well. If you didn't notice, I added in the butter right away. This will help slow down the gluten formation. By keeping the formation of gluten down to a minimum, it will help the dough to spread instead of puff up. Now, if you want rolls, by all means, knead this really well and you will get lovely rolls. The dough needed the entire 50 grams of flour I held back in order to be slightly sticky, but not overly wet or dry. I placed the dough back into the now oiled bowl, covered with a wet tea towel, and allowed this to double, which took about 1 hour. I divided the dough into about 80-gram balls, getting 11 from this batch. I lightly rounded the dough into balls and let them rest about 10 minutes under the wet tea towel. It is important to not roll the balls too tight or you may end up with rolls. Here is the key to making hamburger buns. Flatten that pre-shaped ball into a disc. That's it. If you have hamburger rings, this is a great time to use them. I don't. It is possible to make them from tinfoil if you feel you need something, but I found the dough held its shape just fine. I covered these with a damp tea towel and let them rise another 45 minutes. If you pre-froze the shaped dough, they can be thawed on a sheet pan and allowed to rise when needed. The size of your hamburger buns will depend on what you are looking to put into the bun. I found that the 80-gram size was a great all-purpose size, large enough for a patty or pulled pork without being too large that I couldn't finish the meal. Scale these down for sliders, or up a little if you just want 8 buns. I preheated my oven to 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius. Here's where you get to have some fun customizing your buns. You can opt for a simple dusting of flour, or if you want a glossy top or plan to use toppings like sesame seeds, cornmeal, caramelized onion, or an everything bagel seasoning, go with an egg wash. Otherwise, they bake up just fine as is. Skip the egg wash if you're avoiding eggs, or try brushing with a little milk or melted butter instead. I did a few with flour, a few with just the egg wash, and the rest with sesame seeds. These should take about 15 to 18 minutes in your oven depending on your oven. These came out really nice and tender, but with a sturdy crumb. They held up well to pulled pork and patties without falling apart. They are definitely best day of or frozen immediately to preserve their softness. I found they were a little more crumbly the following day. Not everything is best homemade. If you prefer that ultra-soft texture found in store-bought buns, consider adding a dough enhancer to boost softness and shelf life. But if you need buns in a pinch or are on a budget, these are a great alternative. If you are looking for a filling, I have a barbecue pulled pork recipe coming out next week. And if you need a great barbecue side, check out my baked beans recipe. Or a cool summer dessert, try this no-baked whipped lemonade pie. If you love pantry-friendly recipes, consider subscribing. I have more recipes coming your way, and thanks for hanging out with me.